Welcome to Hack the Real Size podcast with Heather, Ashley, and myself, Keira, where we like to delve into the personal journeys of people in the entertainment industry. And tonight's guest is the fabulous Anthony Dain. So Anthony, yeah, the one that, okay, the only guy on screen, yeah?
That's fair.
So Anthony is an Ohio-based, okay, get this, writer, actor, producer, and director. And he's best known for Sessions, Kitty Kicks Underground, and most recently, The Female Hustler and A Kid Named Bug. So thank you very, very much for coming on and chatting to us tonight.
Of course.
We will just crack on and get started. I don't know if of course you've watched other podcasts of ours in preparation, but in case you haven't, the way it goes is I start with like the silly, ridiculous questions, icebreakers, just trying to get to know you a little bit better. And then Ashley takes a middle section where she wants to talk about your history, how you got into acting. And then Heather will do more specific preparation questions and like on-set details and things like that.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
Do you want a safe word?
A safe word? Oh my, let's call it penguin.
Ooh, that's a good word.
So let's make sure I don't ask any animal-related questions that potentially could have penguin as the answer.
You never know.
He's tapping out already.
I know. Right then. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Okay, cool. Do you have anything that you do that actually you think you're much better at than you really are?
Whoa.
Just starting with the heavy stuff here.
For real, you're coming out the gate hard. I was expecting something like, what's your favorite color? Or if the sky were to be blue today, what color would it be tomorrow? Like, how dare you come in so hard? Is there something I'm good at that I'm, honestly, whatever answer I give you is going to make it sound like I'm trying to boast myself here. So again, how dare you? Honestly, I'd like to think that it's directing actors on set, something that I don't do a whole lot of, but something that I've just been starting to do over the last year now. And who knew?
You enjoying it?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think you're going to move into that more?
Well, if I'm not acting, yes.
Cool. So
yeah,
why choose? Do it all.
Well, it's not so much doing it all. It's just that it's like when you're acting yourself and when you're on set and you're dealing with people, it's like you see these certain things that other people are doing, and you're just like, I wish he could tweak that just a little bit, but I understand like that's his nuance to what he's bringing to it. So directing other actors as an actor and as a director, it's a different ball game, and it's something that I didn't realize I was actually so good at.
Well, that's good. Who is the most interesting person you've met?
Ooh, the most interesting person that I have ever met. You make it sound like I haven't met a lot of people. I can't tell who you're pointing at. You're all pointing at me.
We're all pointing somewhere different.
You're all pointing at me right now, according to the screen layout. How dare you? The most interesting person I have ever met was a man that I had worked with on set 3 years ago. He had no experience in the field of acting, and as soon as he showed up on set, he turned into this completely different person. And all of a sudden it was like, oh shoot, maybe he is who he is. It's just he I'm not going to give his name out. That's the trick here. He was a chameleon. He fooled me. And what I took away from that was that I need to be the same way. I need to be able to show up and give you the feeling that I'm not who I am. And then when you start talking to me, you realize that, oh, he is a completely different person than I thought he was going to be. And that stuck with me.
That's cool. I love the fact that so somebody you influenced, somebody you met on set can somehow completely change the way you approach things in your chosen craft. That's so cool. Is there one item of clothing that would make you tempted to walk out of a first date? I do like that. I'm just going to the toilet, dash. Is there anything?
An article of clothing?
Yeah. Is there something so bad and so like that you'd be like,
Actually, there is nothing cringeworthy that anyone could wear to a date with me because I'm a
Really?
very open, free-flowing type of person. And
Guys, I
if you
think that's a
show up
challenge.
wearing like a cardigan or something on like a 90-degree day, I'm gonna think something's weird, but I'm definitely gonna be asking you about it. And I hope that there's an awesome story behind it. So
You're
like,
okay with like
yeah.
clown shoes and like
Oh, dude, if somebody brought clown shoes, I'd go back out to my car, open the door, check through all of my little strolling wardrobe, find something to match, and be like, at least you're not the only person.
oh, that sounds awesome. I love that. I really love that. What have the past 2 pandemic years taught you?
The past 2 years of the pandemic has been rough for me as well as everybody else. But the one thing that I learned coming out of that is no matter what happens, the world is still turning. I mean, yeah, a lot of things are shutting down and a lot of people are taking breaks and trying to figure things out and start new lives to accommodate what we have to live in now. But the world is still turning no matter what you do. So you have to keep working. You have to change your mindset. So I started writing. I started coming up with all these different things that I could do in my downtime. And I think that has opened up so many more doors to my career than prior to that. Like I hate to say it and I hope it doesn't come off in the wrong way, but like the pandemic has actually helped my career because of those steps that I took.
Yeah, it's okay. You can say that. If it wasn't for the pandemic, we would never have met. Never have done
True story.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crappy, but there's got to be some perks, right? There's got to be some silver linings. So bringing it completely down on the other side is if you were a wrestler, what would your entrance theme be? And do you have a costume? Oh, yeah, just thought that one.
Oh, and what would be your name?
Oh, look at this. Thinking on our feet. Look at us go.
I don't know anything about wrestling.
If I was a wrestler and I had a theme song, all right, first off, the costume. Okay, so the costume, it would have to be very flashy. All right. I'm almost thinking like
as in flashing lights.
No.
Having a battery pack's going to hinder your wrestling moves.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to tell you where I'd have to store the battery pack, so let's not do that.
Yeah,
Instead, what I'm thinking is like, let's do like a gold leotard with like rhinestone shiny stuff on it. So every time I'm like moving around, all the lights just start making it sparkle. I'm gonna come strutting in with like
with that strut, I almost felt like 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. That's what it looked like with your little strut. I was
thinking Saturday Night Live, like Saturday Fever. That's what I was thinking of.
I'm trying to channel that, but I'm also thinking, what's that song? You're gonna make me sing it too because I can't think of it. It's Earth, Wind, Fire, the September song. You know what I'm talking about?
I think you're gonna have to sing it.
I think you're gonna sing it.
I walked into this corner.
You did.
Take your mic, sir.
I'm put on the spot.
Into that corner.
Here you go. Sing it.
Oh, that's so sweet. Here, I'll tell you. Wow, you're all getting ready for it. I'll tell you what. Let's just sprinkle that song back into this when it pops into my brain. How about that?
Okay, cool.
Do you remember?
You'll just have to be like talking about something else and then suddenly break into song.
Yes, that'll happen. That'll totally happen.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that bit.
Oh, but what will my name be?
Yeah.
The Golden Avenger.
Ooh. I like
well,
that.
because I'm wearing gold and rhinestone. Who cares?
Can we make this
not golden rhinestone cowboy?
But then we have to change the song. Okay, let's come back to that.
What did you if you did, what did you call your first car?
My first what?
Did you name your first car? I made that like a really complicated question.
Did I name it? I did.
What's it called?
Marla.
Marla? What was it?
Have you ever seen Fight Club?
Yes.
It was named after her.
Okay.
It was
wait, I'm sorry. You've never seen Fight Club?
Okay, you've never seen Friends and you can't say Muppets right.
Okay.
Burn.
You just got
lines have been drawn. Lines have been drawn. Okay. Okay. Now it's a real Fight Club now. It's real.
It is.
And I've seen the movie, so I know how it goes.
Valid.
Oh my god. Did you have a car that you first named, Heather?
No.
No, you didn't name your car,
No.
Ashley?
I did. I named her Samantha, but I called her Mantha.
What kind of car was it? Not that I probably know any American
It
cars.
was a Mazda Tribute.
No,
Well,
no.
okay. I will say in high school, I had to drive my mom's brown minivan. You know, the minivan that was brown that had the fake wood panel down the side.
Oh, yeah,
I
of
called it.
course.
I called it the brown turd. I don't know if that counts or not, but it was the brown turd.
I'll do. Mine was called Foxy Roxy.
Oh,
I like that. Why do
Weirdly,
you have to
I
have the
don't
classiest name of everybody here?
I know.
Yeah, but I don't think I named it. The weirdest thing is I was the third person to have it after my two brothers. So one of them must have named it.
Oh, that's fair.
So don't know which one of that. So we got two questions that we like to ask every guest. And of course, you've done your homework, so you know exactly what's coming. If you could remake any film using just the Muppets with one token human actor, what film would it be and what actor? Because obviously they always have one human actor in their films.
Oh, of course they do. What film would it be? Oh, this is super easy.
Yep, and what actor?
With Muppets, I'm going to remake Back to the Future, and it's going to be I'm in it. I'm the actor.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so you can be playing Marty or Doc or, you know, Beethoven. No,
Ooh.
Einstein.
I'll be Marty, but I'll be an older Marty, so it'll be like a new future.
Mm.
And so who's going to play Doc?
A
Swedish chef.
Muppet, of course.
Sorry?
Beaker. Beaker's got to play him with the hair.
Yeah, Beaker. Totally.
Yeah, no, I can see that happening. I'm liking that one a lot. And realistically, how long do you think you would survive in a zombie apocalypse?
Oh, I'd make it pretty far.
Okay. What's the you bring to the table?
So I can't give you like a time frame, but like I'm prepared. I would like to credit all of the countless hours I've spent on Call of Duty Zombies and any other video games where I've been slaughtering zombies to be able to prepare for how to handle them and
Just
fortifying, of course. But I might have a supply stashed in my abode to handle such a situation.
Nice.
Oh,
Got a
he's
safe
organized, guys.
Why are you looking to join a team?
Well, no. Well, we do. I'm not going to lie. We do vet each of our guests depending on their answers. We're thinking whether we're going to go to them for the apocalypse or not. Let me tell you, a lot of them we will not. A lot of them, they're straight up like, no, I would die really quickly. And
You would want me on the team to be one of the people that die for
Yeah,
you.
you're the
So
fodder.
you get away. I know my place.
You're
I
a
know my role.
zombie fodder.
I am.
Is the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, that's what I
We
am.
tie her to a stake.
They will be like, yeah, actually you can join, and then you like push me and then like flee for yourself is what.
No. I'll be standing there with like a red blanket over you, like Toro, and then wipe it away. You're behind it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so guys, we might be having to head to Anthony's place in the case of a zombie apocalypse because it sounds like he's got his shit sorted.
Don't be inviting everybody now, okay?
Everybody, come on.
Just us three and you,
Okay.
and then we can restart the world with a brand new podcast. I mean,
Love it.
communications won't be down, surely.
Forget our
Worldwide.
families, forget our children.
Oh yeah.
The three of us are coming up here, starting a podcast for the new world. It's fine.
Actually, you know what? I would totally listen to a podcast during the zombie apocalypse. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Gonna keep you mute. You need some light relief, let's be honest.
Right?
Duh. Well, thank you so much for completely getting to the spirit of this. I did, guys. If I ever need replacing because I'm not around, or you just get sick of me, just bring him in. He'll be fine.
Just put
Not right in. It'll be great.
You're so sweet.
And he can do a British accent as well. So
Yes.
now he's like, I don't want to do it. He said, fuck it up.
No, it's not that I'm going. It's not that I'm afraid. It's that I want to make sure that it's appropriate. It's
You
right.
remind me of like Johnny Depp's Pirates of the
Jack Sparrow.
Caribbean. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. You say such a thing.
Jack Sparrow. Can you see it?
As Captain Jack
Okay.
Sparrow, if you would please, darling.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it on the camera here, but I do have his ink.
What?
That's right.
Ooh.
He's actually one of the characters that I play. I'm also a cosplayer.
Well,
No.
Johnny Depp actually listens to this podcast, so there you
All
go,
right
Johnny.
then, Johnny, I have a proposition for you. I know you're going through a rough time right now with Warner Brothers, and if you're looking for a replacement, I have just the person for you. Savvy?
That's not really a proposition for Johnny. It's more a proposition for Warner Brothers.
Let's do it.
Okay. Got that out of the way. Now we got to start asking the real questions of where did you grow up and how did you get into acting? Because those clearly go hand in hand.
Do they clearly go hand in hand? Oof. I've been around. I'm actually a Minnesota boy.
Okay.
I am born and raised in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Small little town east of St. Paul, actually, called Oakdale. Born and raised 12 years, maybe. I don't know. I lose track sometimes, but I ended up, I moved to Florida, spent some time there living before I eventually landed here in Columbus. I want to say I was about 13 or 14 when I actually landed here in Columbus. So I've almost been here half my life now. I don't know. Numbers are weird, you know. What got me into acting though? Oh, girl. Honestly, my story is one of the it's one of those right place at the right time stories. It was I was living here in Columbus and I have been working in the bar business as a barback, bartender, and shift manager, you know. One of my bartender friends introduced me to a friend that he had who worked at a restaurant that was connected to us, like right next door. His name is Dan Nye, who is also he's also an actor. Right now he lives out in LA, but it was honestly Dan that got me into acting. He saw that I did cosplay and I've been playing characters like Jack Sparrow, Iron Man, Tony Stark, Spider-Man, the Riddler. I got a slew of them, but he would see me do these performances as Jack Sparrow, and he came to me one day and he's like, "Hey, why don't you go in, talk to my agent at PCG Talent and say, hey, I want to do a monologue." So I did, and apparently I was good. I don't know. I look back at my acting career, and when I first started, it was not good. But she saw something in me and took a chance, and pretty much the rest of that is history. I mean, granted, I'm not with PCG anymore. I mean, no hate or anything. I just moved on to other things.
Because you're with Heyman Talent now, right?
I am currently signed with Heyman Talent, the Talent Group, I Group, and Talent Fusion.
Okay. Awesome. So you were just like, I'm just going to go audition for an agent. What was your process with that? And what did you start taking any acting classes, or kind of how did you get into it?
So I never took any acting classes. I wish I did, but I did not. I had an equivalent to that kind of helped me get through. My high school wasn't a traditional high school. It was a charter school, and it was brand new. It just opened when I got there. My graduating class was 12 students. The school is called ACPA. It's ACPA, the Art College Prep Academy. And it was there that I got into the arts. I learned drama. I did theater and that sort of thing. But I didn't stick to it when I left. Instead, I just, did the normal thing that every kind of kid does. He parties, he drinks, he does stupid stuff and doesn't care about his future. And then finally, some time passed. I started doing this cosplay thing where, you're impersonating, and impersonating is acting. I'm pretending to be somebody else. So I built that up, and that's kind of what got me through the door into acting. Is I guess I've been doing it forever.
Yeah. Okay, so you signed with PCG, correct?
I did, yes.
Then so how were some of your first auditions, and how did you, because you said you're like, I did a couple of classes in school and then I did cosplay, and now you have an agent. Like, how did you go from there?
So the all of my previous auditions and everything I did for probably the first year in this were just awful, you know. And the all right, so here's the thing. I keep a backup hard drive of everything that I've ever done. So I have every audition that I've ever recorded on. Like when I first started out, I was shooting my auditions on just a webcam, you know, like this little guy right here. But obviously I've upgraded, you know, you go to a phone and then you go to a DSLR or whatever, you get more equipment and you get more toys. But I started out on these little things. So naturally the quality is terrible, but my acting performances were so bad because I didn't understand the concept of how to read to a camera. Instead, you know, I grew up doing not so much theater, but in impersonating and cosplaying, you're performing for people on the spot. Everything is all improv. You've got a light list of things that you need to hit, but you're not acting for a camera. So the first year of auditioning, it was probably the most stressful time I've ever had, because you know you dedicate yourself to doing this sort of thing, and you go into it with so much enthusiasm. You're like, oh, this is gonna be easy, this is gonna be great, I'm gonna be an actor, this is fantastic. And you never get called back. You never get called back. And you're like, am I doing something wrong? You review your tapes, and at the moment you're looking at them, you're like, no, this all looks good. I'd buy this for sure. And I look at it like 4 years later at my old tapes, and I look at this and I get like 4 seconds into the slate, and I'm like, nope, off. I can't do it. It was
I feel like we're
grueling.
going to need to see some of these, to be honest.
You know,
feel like-
I considered doing like a montage kind of tape
Of
of
how you
just like,
draw.
yeah, of
Yeah.
that. So I have it all. I could do it. I just maybe when I have some time, I will.
do it.
Okay, so
Consider.
you have this plethora of stuff that you have from, but like, how did you get from point A to point B? What was your process like of learning? Because I feel like, at least with my very short knowledge of this market, it's very commercial based. If you want to do like TV and film and things like that, it's basically networking, finding people. Like you have several agents now. What was your process of, here I am not knowing what I'm doing, to getting several agents and, you know, writer, producer, actor? Like, how did you get there?
Research.
Okay.
Research, study, that's the majority of it. I would spend countless hours watching YouTube. I would watch other actors, and I still do to this day. As a matter of fact, there's a show on YouTube that I watch regularly. Words are tough. Regularly. There's a show I watch called The Off Camera Show. If you guys have ever heard of it, it's with Sam Jones. Any of you guys? Anyone? Bueller? No, it's I highly suggest it. It's basically a one-on-one actors interview with well-established A-list celebrity actors that ask the same questions. You know, like he'll sit there and all calm and be like, so how'd you get here? You know, what's your story? And so you hear these people's stories, and it's like you listen to all the things that they go through, and it's not so distant from what we can do. So I'll watch these interviews, and then I'll watch these movies that brought them to where they are. So like Matt Damon, for example, what brought him into the mixed was he wrote his own piece, Good Will Hunting, you know. So like I'll watch that. Like, why did that movie get him to where he is? I'll watch certain cinematic ideas from certain directors and producers to how they want to go about doing a film, and I'll watch that, and I'll really absorb how these actors are moving on the screen, so that when I finally get in front of a camera, I can kind of use that, because I've seen it happen successfully. So obviously they must be onto something, right? So it's basically just absorbing everything I can possibly imagine to give the best performance of my life if I ever get that chance to be in front of a camera. And not to mention, every time I do happen to get on a set. So like I took every job that came my way, and I'm not kidding. Even if it was something like, hey, we need you for a full day, but we can only pay you $50. I'm like, I don't care. I'm in, do it. Let's go. And every time you're on a set, you know, you talk to all these people, and you just, if you have this radiating energy, then people are more likely to be like, let's work with that guy again. Even if his performance wasn't so great, I could see that he's still, you know, new to this. So he was a cool guy to work with. let's bring his energy back, and I can maybe mold him into what I need for the future. So every time I'm on a set, I'll watch all of the crew people, you know, setting up and getting themselves ready. I'll listen to all the lingo, which was probably the most important thing for me, was understanding what all of the terminology meant. Granted, I'd still go home that day and then I'd look everything up, like, these guys were screaming about sticks. I have no idea what that means. I got to figure out what that means. And then, you know, and then in the future sets, I'd hear somebody say it and be like, oh, I know I got to move out of the way because somebody's moving stuff. So it's like you pick up something from every single job you do, no matter how small that job is. Research, study, that was it. Just diligence.
Yeah. And so what was the process of getting multiple agents for people that may be starting out, or, you know, or are here and they have an agent, but they want to get different ones? Because not everybody knew. I didn't know that. Again, was research that you could have more than one agent as long as they're in different markets.
That's the key. They have to be different markets. If, for example, here in Ohio, we have quite a few, as a matter of fact. So just for the sake of argument, here in Columbus, there's a few big ones. I'll mention two of them here because I'd already mentioned them, PCG and Heyman. They both cover the Columbus market, so you can't be represented by both of them. I can say that Cleveland, they have a couple of agencies up there. I'm personally with the Talent Group, which covers Cleveland, but also Heyman kind of covers Cleveland a little bit too. It's not their main jurisdiction because they handle Columbus and South, but if you didn't have representation that focused on Cleveland, you'd still get a little piece of that pie by working for Heyman and Columbus. When you do finally sign with somebody else, you're basically just kind of playing volleyball between these different agencies to make sure that it's okay. It kind of gets stressful at first, but the best part about it is being represented by multiple agencies is your email is always full. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to take every single one of those jobs or get every single one of those jobs, but it just opens the door of possibility and opportunity more so than if you were signed by one agency. And quite honestly, I've heard horror stories from other actors that don't recommend being covered by multiple agencies. And that was one thing that I considered myself when I started doing it. The only reason that I'm sticking with it now is because I love that opportunity is always at my doorstep, because this is my career. This is what I want. And I know that if I didn't have it, I would just have to work that much more at getting it. I'm not saying that I can sit back and relax, but at the same time, like I just said, my email is always full, which is a good thing. So more opportunity is kind of the key there. The way to do it, though, you just reach out. Just ask them. There's a website. Go to every single website and it'll say submit for talent. You just submit all your information, and if they'll accept you, they'll reach out to you, and then you just do a monologue with them and move on from there. Like,
so again, with getting the agents and stuff, a lot of agents would like a show reel. And when you were starting off, how did you go about maybe not having a show reel? And again, this is such a heavily commercial area. Like, how did you go about getting your agents when you're like to submit if you didn't have a show reel?
So, okay. When I joined PCG, I didn't have a reel or anything. So when I got signed with them, my language is awful. When I signed with PCG, I did a monologue and I did a dry read because they didn't have anything to reference me to. So they needed to see if I was actually capable of taking direction and understanding material. So it started with that. Everything was great. With my first reel that I ever got was only one short film, and it was a horrible performance on my part, but I had material finally. So I would use that. I basically just chopped up the video into probably the best little segments that would give anybody an indication that I knew what I was doing, you know, and then I would use that. And then every time I got even the slightest role, even if it was just a non-speaking role or like an extra role or background work, I know you can't use background work in your reel, but if it's enough to where you're showing an action and you don't have a reel, please use it. You know, like if I were a casting director, I would want to see something if you didn't have anything, even if it is background work. You know, I want to see you on the screen to know what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
So I started with that. And then I just kept building on top of it with every single piece that came my way. You know, you'd communicate with production and say, hey, can I please get a copy of this? As soon as you get it, you chop it up in some little editing program on your computer, which we all probably have, I would hope, especially if you're getting into this career. And you just keep adding on to it until you get something good.
Yeah.
You can make your own. I wouldn't suggest it, but you can. Like when you set up for your audition, you know, and you just kind of do your audition stuff, if you want to do certain scenes, you can do that too. For example, I know that when I first started out and I didn't have a reel, what I did have was a couple of different monologues that I could just pull from. So like I had a range of monologues. I had an evil monologue, I had a sappy monologue, and then I had a comedy monologue. And I recorded all of them and I had them on YouTube, and then I would just send those to casting directors so they could at least see that I had some range. So yeah, if you don't have a reel, do monologues. But here's the trick. You cannot do a monologue for somebody if it's already been done. I know it seems counterintuitive, right? You can't go to a casting director and do a piece that Jack Nicholson did in a movie, because we all seen how Jack Nicholson did it. We know how this is done. We don't want to see that. We want to see you do something. So you can't mimic it, right? So we look for plays, we look for theater, we look for little pieces like that we can do. But here's the secret. I found something even better. I found that if you look into video game dialogue, you can make it your own, because A, nobody knows it exists, or at least casting directors don't usually know it exists. And two, when you're playing a video game, it's all controller action, you know, there's nothing behind it. It's just dialogue in your ear. So you can take that dialogue and actually perform something with it. So a lot of times I would recommend, you know, just start looking through video game monologues and use that.
That is the first time I've ever heard of it, but it is a genius.
Huh.
Look at you.
That's
why we pay you the big bucks.
I mean, I don't think there's really been a video game that I've played long enough to notice a dialogue, because I don't think there's much dialogue in The Sims.
Well, no.
That's literally the only game I think I've ever played for a long time.
Or like, you know, Pac-Man.
It's not.
Well, no, nowadays it's like video games have become so immersive nowadays that it's like they're super narrative driven. So a lot of times you're lucky enough to actually find some sort of like I pull a lot from a game called Far Cry, which is it's like a first person, but it doesn't do a whole lot. But there's this evil man in it who's the villain of like the main story, who has this maniacal sort of monologue that I still perform to this day, and it's completely different than the way he does it. In fact, I move some words around, of course, to kind of make it my own. But like that's the other thing too, is when you're when you're performing, it's not about reciting the words word for word. It's about consuming what's written and then giving out your take of it, in the same way that you're teaching a class, or in the same way that you're teaching somebody how to do something. You're not going to read directly from the manual and be like, well, you got to put socket B into socket C. You're going to be like, well, these two need to go together, because otherwise everything's just going to fall apart. Oh, I understand that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, kind of to pivot, our friends there, what would you say is your best audition experience, and what would you say is your worst audition?
Okay.
My
audition
experience.
My best experience. It was here in my little studio, and it came from, I think it came from Heyman. I got a short film that came to me. It was a movie called Panophobia. Yeah. The literal fear of everything. And I read it, and holy cow, it was a rom-com, right? The main character is this female who has panophobia. She's literally afraid of everything. And so she walks around wearing like the hazmat suit and everything. She doesn't want to touch anything. and my character like falls in love with, they fall in love with each other, that sort of thing. Anyways, so I got the sides for it. And I start reading it over. And I'm like, this is absolutely brilliant. I have to be a part of this project. So my girlfriend at the time was my reader for this. And we sat down and we did a couple of different takes on it. And, you know, I threw some tears in there and made it like happy and cheerful. And when I didn't hear anything back from it, I was super disappointed. And then I finally heard from him. And apparently what happened is the production for that, they had to take a break for some other reason. So the callback time got stretched a lot longer than it needed to. It was almost like a month out. Usually you hear these things within a couple of weeks. And if you don't, you just move on with your life, which is kind of normal. But when I finally heard back from them, they're like, hey, will you come in? We want to see you do a table read. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then when I went in and I did the table read and everything, I asked him flat out, I'm like, so why me? You know, like it's a question you don't normally ask people, but you know, there's 100 people up for a certain role. You wonder what you brought to the table that made you stand out, so you can keep doing that thing for these people, right? So I asked him like, why me? And they're like, there was a line in there that said it was my character's name was Bixby, you know, and her response was like, what, you mean like the cell phone app thing? And my response to it is like, oh yeah, nobody's ever said that before. And I had like this cheerfulness behind it that they loved. And they told me that everybody else that read for it played that off like very negatively, like, yeah, nobody's told me that one before. And so that stood out over everybody else. And it just made me feel so good, because when I read that thing, I felt heartful, you know, and that's the performance that I gave. And that's what landed me the role. And I'm like, oh, that's fantastic.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, I always like to do self-tape classes or whatever, because I always like to see people's different takes on the same, because you don't, as an actor, we don't get to see it, you know, we don't get to see, you know, your competition and what they interpret it. And so I always love self-tape classes because I always like to see people's takes on it. So it's really cool that you got that feedback from them to be like, that one line is what did it for them, you know?
Yeah.
So crazy. And then what would you say was probably your like harshest or worst audition?
I wish I had a harsh audition. I mean, I don't want to try and downplay it, but like I don't really have one of those horror stories that many people have when it comes to it. Like, to be perfectly honest, I naturally have thick skin. So in the rejection process that this life is, I don't take it to heart. I absolutely did for the longest time, especially within the first couple of years of this, to the point where I almost quit. And honestly, that's how some of us make it as far as we do, is because we don't quit. You know, if everybody did it, if it was easy, everybody would, you know. But I don't have that horror story that most people have. In fact, I understand full-heartedly that the casting director usually doesn't have a say in who gets what role. It's all about the client. You know, if it's for a commercial or if it's for a film, the person who wrote the film or the person who is, you know, putting together the commercial, they have a certain image in their mind, and that's what they're looking for. So you could give an Oscar-worthy performance in any sort of self-tape audition and still not get the part. And it has everything to do with the fact that I'm not blonde, you know, and the reason you need to be blonde is because we already cast like a wife and kid that are blonde, you know, and it's like, it would fit or something like that. And it's not because you're a bad actor. It's just unfortunate that, you know, it didn't work. But fortunately enough, they may call you back for something else in the future. So I wish I had one of those horror stories where it just didn't work out, because honestly, I just move on to the next one. I don't let it affect me, and you shouldn't either, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. So I feel like I hit everything I usually like to ask. So I'm going to pass you off to Heather.
Pass me off like I'm a beach ball.
Okay, so my part, I always like to ask about how you prep for different roles. And you had mentioned earlier that you hadn't taken any formal acting classes. So how did you come up with your process for I guess breaking down a script, deciding how you want to play a character.
This is my favorite part, actually. Okay, so in the world of acting, like my favorite part is the audition process and the breaking down of the script, okay? Because the piece that comes to you doesn't exist other than what's on this page and in the brain of the person that wrote it, right? So it's entirely up to you as the actor to bring this person to life. So my breakdown, anytime I get sides, there's actually like a two-parter here. Anytime I get sides, the first thing I do is obviously I just read it for what it is. You know, I want to picture it in my brain as if I'm watching. If I turn on the TV and I flip into the middle of a show, and this is the scene that's on before I flip away. You know, that's the capture that you're looking at, right? When it comes to breaking it down, though, it's more so I try to figure out, first of all, what's happening in this scene. You know, why does this scene exist? Obviously, I don't know what's happening before it or afterwards. So in my mind, I try to figure out the best logical reason as to why it works, like the grounded reason. Okay. From there, I take my character and I try to find out, you know, why is he in this situation? Nothing crazy, you know. Maybe the scene is you're at a grocery store and there's a dialogue exchange between a man buying groceries and the cashier, right? Sounds super simple, but you still got to ask yourself, you know, why is he at the grocery store? Is he buying food to prepare for a date that he's going to cook for that night, or is he cooking for his family, or is he just filling his cabinet before he goes away again? Is it completely pointless? Like, you think of all these tiny little things that don't mean absolutely anything, but they do. It's funny. So I start breaking my character down based off of why he's doing what he's doing. And then when I start reading the lines, that's where the tone comes from. So I'll always get a reader, and it's not usually in person, but I'll always grab a reader and then I'll have them read it first. You know, just read this, tell me what you think of it. And they're like, I don't get it. That's usually the response you get. And I'll discuss it real quick. You know, I'll give them my idea of what I'm thinking is happening in this scene, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, I see. All right, let's just read shit and let's do it. Like, okay, cool. So I just do a quick read over the phone with this person. We just do dialogue back and forth until we finally kind of come to this vibe, you know, this back and forth vibe. It doesn't matter what the tone is, as long as you have popcorn, right? Just back and forth, back and forth. And from there, you're able to actually ground your character into reality. And then when it comes time to actually give your audition and your performance, that's when you can play with it. Because the key to all of this is not reciting lines, but trusting that your comprehension of the material is going to guide you through the page. You know, it might sound a little goofy, but you just have to trust it. So once I've broken my character down to understanding why he's in this space, you know, even if I'm just made it up in my brain, right? Like, I'm buying flowers and I'm buying some pasta and some sauce, and I'm going to make a nice little Italian dinner for my little honey that's going to come over later tonight. It's going to be great. But the conversation that we're having is totally dark, you know, like the cashier is super sad and like crying during her shift. And I'm like, why, what's the matter? Why are you here? Why don't you just go home? Why won't they let you? And they're like, they won't let me go home. And then so you try to like talk them down, and you use this sort of backhanded, like, I'm buying flowers for my dinner, but here, take one, you know? And so you kind of play with it. It's honestly, it's my favorite part. But there's another part here that I'm forgetting to mention is sometimes if you're on profiles like Actors Access or casting networks backstage, you're doing your own work. Okay, when you find these sides off of like GoFax. Do you guys remember the platform?
Is go, like, if they give you a part, you have to go, or sometimes you have to go steps. Yeah.
Is that what it's called? It's GoFax.
Showfax. I thought it was Showfax.
Showfax. That's probably Showfax.
That is, yeah, you're right. Okay.
So when you have to pull your own sides out of Showfax, right? If you have a premium membership to Actors Access, you get it all for free, which I do. So when I go in there and I find my character that I'm trying to read from, I'll pull every single character I could possibly pull from this thing. And then I'll read every single side I can possibly read. So then now in my brain, I know everything that's going on in this entire movie. I know the entire tone. I know why this character is doing what he's doing. And I know why the other character I'm talking to is doing what they're doing, because I read all their sides. So then when I give the performance I give, it's like, you might as well just hit record because I'm already in your film. You know what I mean? So there's an advantage and a disadvantage, however you look at it. But the advantage is do your research and really, really break down your character. Like I'll sit in my armchair and I'll have like a cup of tea and I'll sit there with the lights off, just a nice little light, and I'll have music playing and I'll just like casually be reading over my character, highlighting, crossing stuff out, writing notes in the margin, and just like becoming this person, even if it's just for a small little audition that I might not get, because the job is the audition, not the role you get.
Yeah, that's what we've heard a lot. Like your job is just to audition. Like that's it. That's all you got to do. So you've been on different sets, different roles. Was there one role that you felt was the most difficult for you to get into character and to perform for whatever reason? And how did you kind of overcome the difficulties you had?
Difficult in terms of understanding, or difficult in terms of
maybe understanding, or maybe that character was so far removed from you or what you've played before. Like, how can I get into this head space?
Okay.
I mean, it could be difficult in whatever way you want it to be.
No, I got you. Okay. So yes, I've got one of those then. I did a feature film. It actually just came out. So we worked on that one for a while. We started filming before quarantine started. So naturally quarantine puts a hold on absolutely everything. Time gets stretched out, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, the film finally came out for release in December. So it is now out there. It exists. The film is called By Grace. The film is about this. It's based off of a true story. It's about this woman who loses her child at a very early age. Okay. Like infant, right? Goes through all of the classic human traits that you would go through, you know, grief and despair, depression, everything. And you know how we all have the hypothetical influencers, the angel and the demon on our shoulders that kind of help us get through our life, right? Well, this film focuses more so on the fact that that little demon there is constantly breaking her down because of what she's going through, and she's trying to find a way out of this sort of emotional hell that she's in because she lost her child. You know, it's totally understandable, right? I play the character that is the devil, right? So I have to, and bless this girl, she's such a sweetheart too. Her name is Essie. She was the main character in this, and she's such a sweetheart. But I had to, you know, I had to talk down to her, and I had to be this evil entity, basically telling her that she's a piece of shit and she's not worth anything. And like, I know it's a role, I know it's a character, and I know nothing is real, but at the same time, like, saying these words to her and watching her cry and reacting in such a horrible way hurt me inside. You know, like the end product looked good on screen and I feel great about it, and I'm like happy with the performance and I'm happy with the product, but being in that sort of setting and putting my mindset in telling a human being they're worthless was just so awful. It's funny when I look back at it though. You know.
So, okay, so that obviously was difficult mentally for you. So what did you do after that day of shooting to cleanse your mind?
Essie and I would talk. Yes, Essie and I would still talk. You know, we would communicate afterwards and just kind of like go over what we liked about the scene and kind of come out of those characters and reassure each other that, you know, we're still friends. Everything's okay. It's just a job. And then, you know, I'd just go home and relax and forget about it. And then prepare yourself for the next time they call you for another scene. Cause I mean, we shot that thing over 2 years, you know, it was a legit feature. So there was a lot of emotional jump ropes I had to go through for that.
So has there ever been a time on set where you, I guess you played a scene a certain way and the director was like, no, I want you to do it this way. Have you ever had that where you just really struggled to, I guess, does this make sense? This may not be making sense.
Was it hard for me to comprehend what the director was asking me to do?
Yeah, and like, how did you go about, because you had like rehearsed and like planned out, this is how you're going to play this scene, and then the director's like, no, that's not what I want. I would rather you do it this way. Has that ever happened? And how did you, in that moment, not get frazzled or, you know, panicked, like, oh shit, okay.
Oh no, that all happened. Every bit of it happened. It's completely normal. It's supposed to happen. That's the process. Yeah, it was actually one of my first big commercials that I did. It was few years ago now that I think about it, but I auditioned for it with like this this kind of a superhero sort of stance, language, dialogue tone to it. You know, it was almost kind of like a Patrick Warburton is what I was doing. And when I got to set, you know, that's what got me the audition, or that's what got me the job, right? And I'm thinking the reason I got the job is because of the character that I portrayed, you know, the performance and everything about it. So when I came to set, you know, I memerized all the lines. I'm ready to go. I live this character, and I've got it all in my brain, right? As soon as the cameras were rolling and I heard action and I started performing, we got a couple of lines in before they called cut, and the director walked up to me and he goes, "What are you doing?" Like, what are you talking about? Am I doing something wrong? He goes, I don't like the voice you're doing. I don't like that. Do something normal. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think I screwed up here. This isn't good. Why am I here? Okay, let's try this again. All right, sure. So I started doing it the way that he's asking me to do it, but because I was still fresh into acting, you know, so like I'm not sure what I'm doing, right? So I take his direction and I start moving with it a little bit, but because I had ingrained this into me so bad, it was hard to come out of it. So a few lines into it, I would just naturally start going back into that character, and then I'd hear cut from the corner. He'd come running around the corner. He goes, "You're doing it again." Damn it, sorry. Needless to say, it took a while, but I finally got out of that mode. But I was sweating, you know, anxiety was through the roof. I'm like, he's going to fire me immediately. He's going to send me home. I'm like 4 hours away from my home anyways, so this is really going to suck. I don't want to tarnish my acting career off of a horrible commercial because I can't like listen to the director. But you know, we talked about it. I asked him like real specifically. I'm the kind of guy who you have to be very direct to. Like I don't beat around the bush. If you want to see something, I prefer blatant and to the point, you know, like I can digest that and I can give you something with it, you know. So we found that middle ground, and by the end of it, you know, they got the performance they were looking for, and it worked. There was a couple of hiccups along the way, and it was a longer day than expected, but I can honestly say with that company, they have called me back multiple times, and I have now, to this day, I have accomplished 8 commercials with that company, and that was my first one. So the moral of that story is, no matter how bad you feel you're doing, and no matter how much the director hates your performance, just listen the best that you can. Try to be as accommodating and cheerful and happy and warm and open as you can possibly be, even if you're screaming inside. And who knows, you'll work with them again.
That's great.
So what do you feel, which role thus far do you feel has shaped your career the most, or you feel has moved it forward?
Oh, that's actually an easy one. But my question is, do all 3 of you live in Ohio? None of you guys do.
I'm in the UK.
Keira lives in Cincinnati, don't you know?
All right. Well, as long as one of you is somewhere in the Ohio border, have you guys ever seen or heard of the flu commercial for our governor Dwayne?
Flu commercial?
Yeah, that I'm totally striking out right now the way you're out looking at me.
Can I Google Ohio governor flu commercial, and will it bring something up on YouTube?
Yes, but I wouldn't use that many words. I would just say the Ohio flu, and you'll absolutely get it.
We're all looking down.
Yeah,
Oh
hey
my
guys,
God.
I'm
Are
up
you
here.
Are you in
Ohio
apples?
flu.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm in
eating
the
some
apples.
Oh,
I come
okay,
out
just
of the
for our
apples.
viewers,
Wait,
that's me right there.
the
Yeah, I'm the Ohio flu for sure.
Oh my
Oh, okay.
gosh.
oh my
That's
God, you're actually the flu.
Yes, I'm actually the flu. It's a
This is my
brilliant
phone.
commercial.
Blank.
Your phone sucks.
Can't wait to watch that one then.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for you to see it. Anyways, that commercial right there, it was we filmed it early last year. So this is now the second year that commercial is in running. Which is great. I got it through Heyman. So holla. It was and actually super small world. There's actually a big story behind that one. But that is the one that shaped my career because that one is played throughout the entire state of Ohio. I've been recognized in Cleveland because of that commercial. I've been recognized in Cincinnati because of that commercial. It's absolutely propelled me. And to be honest, obviously with it being in my reel and it being one of the first things that you see when you watch my reel, if you've seen the commercial, you know it instantly. And I honestly hope they pick me up again for a third year. So that's incredibly amazing.
So you've been the flu
Wow.
for 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, you're like Flo from Geico.
I mean,
That's
I'm hoping
progressive.
it gets that far, right?
You're like Flo. You're the
Oh, hang on a second.
flu. Huh?
He's been the flu for 2 years and we're in a 2-year pandemic.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I also
Yeah,
did another pandemic commercial too, like wear your mask sort of thing. So like it was around the same time. So I was racking up a lot of commercials around that time. And I thank the flu for that.
That's awesome. Because you would have thought it would be like the major film you were in, something, but you're like, nope, just I'm the flu.
Yeah, and that actually goes credit to I wish I had known that, getting into this earlier, because I have a few friends in this acting community that they've said to me a couple of times, like the price of that, it's not worth my time, it's not worth my travel, and like I don't want to be a part of that project. And I'm like, I totally get it. That's fine. You do you. But I have no pride in the sense that I'll take a job for $50. I'll take a job for no pay. Like that's my superpower is I'll outwork anybody when it comes to this career, because I know that the person that continues to work is the one that's going to continue to work. I know that if I do a quick spot that doesn't pay anything except just a handshake and a thank you, it means that A, I could come back later and work for this guy at a budget, maybe, and B, it's always the work that you do that gets recognized that you don't expect it to. Like I thought for sure any of my movies would have been, it would have been something, but no, it was a commercial. It was a commercial about getting the flu.
That's crazy. So what are you working on anything right now? I know you said before you were. Can you talk about it, or is it?
I can sort of talk about it. I can't give you many details, but as of right now, it's funny. Actually, I just got into Columbus this afternoon. I was in Cleveland all weekend shooting. I was directing a film that I wrote. Actually, it's for with my partner Shannon. She it was her story. It was her idea, and then I just started writing like crazy, and we kind of landed in an area that we were both happy with. I'm like, let's do it. So we filmed it all this last weekend. I have all the footage sitting on my drive right now. And now that I'm back home, my next job is to edit everything. Yay. It's for the Short Sweet Film Fest up in Cleveland. It started on Wednesday. We got the prompt on Wednesday. There are at least 15, maybe 14 teams. And the idea is you have to make a 5-minute movie, and it has to contain this prompt, and it has to be due by the beginning of February. And that's about it. I can't tell you what I did, but what I can tell you is I'm very proud of what we have, and it's twisty. So it's definitely going to keep you on your toes as you're watching it. I know it's only going to be 5 minutes, but it's probably going to be the best 5 minutes of this year. That's right. So yeah, my current project that I am working on right now is I now have to edit what I just finished filming.
And do you have anything that is about to come out that our viewers can see you in?
Yeah, okay. So let's see. I do have some stuff coming out. There's a film coming out called Eulogies that actually, Hi. Hello. Ariel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, him and I have been working on that project. It's a very dark project, but it's very punchy and I like it. I don't want to give too much away in case you want to actually watch it, but it'll be out very soon and we'll be throwing it into festivals, which is why I can't say too much about it. But let's just say it follows the life of a man that runs parallel to the life of another man that have completely opposite lifestyles, and their paths finally cross and something explosive happens.
Hmm.
I can't say more than that.
You have a very good way of like intriguing like the interest level. Like I really kind of want to watch that and see what he's talking about.
Well, let's just say over the course of the pandemic, when I had the ability to sit here and just write, I was able to hone in on some of my vocabulary.
Mm.
So the moral of everything I've been saying from beginning to end is don't give up. Just keep working.
No.
So at the end of every podcast, we always like to give our guest a chance to share 3 words that you would use to describe your career / acting path so far, and 1 piece of advice that you would have loved to have had when you were just starting out, or you might give to someone who is just now starting out in this industry.
Oh my.
It's a lot.
3 words. Yeah, that is a lot.
It could be like 3 separate words too. Like it doesn't have to be like a
Phrase.
sentence.
Like a 3-word sentence.
Just 3 individual words.
3 individual words. I can think of 3 individuals. The first word is scary,
Mm.
because there's no uncertain. It's all uncertain. You know, there's no planning. There's no nothing. It's just hoping. You know, inspiring, I suppose. Insightful. I can honestly say that I've learned a lot about myself and just the human nature in general, you know, like how people communicate emotions. And I mean, I've never been an emotional person up until now anyways, so like these are all new things I keep learning, you know. And those are my 3 words: scary, insightful, and inspiring. Advice though, any advice to actors just starting out, new actors, or actors who don't seem to figure out why it's not working for you? Honestly, the only thing I can say is just don't give up. I almost did, and I know plenty of stories of people who almost did, and that's usually what kind of tips the scale for them. Start early, you know. I wish I had started this earlier. I'm 34 years old, and I've been doing this professionally for the last 5 years. I've been acting since I was 20, but like I wish I had started when I was a kid. Like I'd be so much further in my career now. Not saying like famous or anything, but like I'd have so much more knowledge in my brain about how to do this that I would be so much further along making movies than I would be today. Learn everything you can possibly learn. Do your research. You don't want to be that actor that comes to a set unprepared. You don't want to be the guy who can't get his lines out because you didn't look them over, you know? I mean, if I sit down on a set with somebody that I'm going to be in a scene with, you know, before we start filming, before we're in makeup or anything, you know, I introduce myself. Hey, hi, nice to meet you. Let's build a vibe here and some chemistry before we get on set. Let's start going over lines. Naturally, you're going to pull your script out and you're just going to make sure that you guys are in the right flow before it all starts happening, and then you put it away and then you got it right. But like, if I'm doing that with an actor and they're clearly not prepared and they don't know what's happening right now, then it's going to be a bad production. It's bad for everybody on set. You're probably not going to work with those people again. So like, do the work, do your job. Like you can't work in the service industry and expect to get tipped out if you're not doing your job. You can't work in a business setting and expect to still earn a paycheck at the end of the month if you're not doing whatever a business job entails. I don't know. I'm not in that industry, but like, do the work. Don't be afraid. You just have to trust the process, and you have to trust the fact it all comes down to belief. It sounds silly, but I'm a strong believer in manifesting my own reality. And the only way to do that is to fully believe and see that it exists in your future. If I know for a certainty that I can do the things that I know I can do, it's going to happen. Just believe in it. Trust it. Do it.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing. Where can
Mhm.
our listeners find you on social media? Where's the best place for them to find you at?
I'm everywhere. I'm on all social media, and it's the same tagline too. So if you get it wrong the first time, you're gonna get it wrong every time. I'm real Anthony Dain.
Not fake Anthony Dain. Real.
Correct. There are some fake Anthony Dains. No, there really aren't. But if you are wondering, I am the real Anthony Dain. I am real Anthony Dain. Instagram, Facebook, you name it, I'm out there. I don't know what all platforms exist, but I'm sure I have a profile out there.
Just in case, I'm going to make one. Yep.
Well, Anthony, we thank you so much for coming on today and giving us your wisdom and spending your time after just getting off set and coming straight here and talking to us. So
Yeah.
really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. This is fun. Like I said, I miss podcasts. You know, it was probably the highlight of my week. I'm not gonna lie. It is
Oh.
Monday, so